We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
School and all James was can say is, ooh, I'll be second day. 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 When a ball turned into a vampire, all James was can say was, ooh, I'll be second day. 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 When he became Peter's best friend, they sat around the house and said, ooh, I'll be second day. 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 And you know that James Woods practices laundry well, but everything that he reads becomes real hard to spell. Everyone tries to help him, but the words just won't come out. There's only one thing he can think of, and it's what comes out his mouth. Ooh, I'll be second day. 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 When he comes out of his house, the women scream and shout. Ooh, I'll be second day. 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 And I know that he's next to the best of them all when he says, ooh, I'll be second day. 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 Reese's Pieces on the floor and watch him come a saying, ooh, I'll be second day. 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 And you know that James Woods practices laundry well, but everything that he reads becomes real hard to spell. Everyone tries to help him, but the words just won't come out. There's only one thing he can think of, and it's what comes out his mouth. Ooh, I'll be second day. 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 When he comes out of his house, the women scream and shout. Ooh, I'll be second day. 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 Ooh, I'll be second day.
That girl, wherever I've seen things you people wouldn't believe.
So, a creature for my amusement. Prepare for battle.
Fucking thing sucks!
Hi.
Oh boy. Meat and taters, meat and taters. Yeah, any open you can get out of alive, that's a winner. What's going on, everybody? Another night, another Thursday night, another Extra Bulla. I'm your host, Uncle Warren. We got a treat for you tonight. We got some cool cats here. Awesome sauce. Put it on some sketty. Let me do this and let me do this. You ever notice how like people on these live streams will tell you like, oh well, let me do this, and they're doing some technical stuff, and you're like, man, I don't care about that. You ain't gotta be the narrator. You know? You ain't gotta tell your life story. Right? Tonight's show, we're talking about radio, and I've got a couple of TV guys here with me, so you know, of course, that makes sense, right? But they they started off in radio just like me, and oh, Kelly, look at that! Oh, there's my man, Green Hearts. Kelly's one of my future ex-wives. R.I.P. Dennis Hudson. So without further ado, hopefully this works. Let me see if it's gonna work. Yeah, I think this is gonna work out. Ladies and gentlemen, these guys, I grew up in radio with them. They both work at WCBI TV in Columbus, Mississippi. Let me get them on screen here for you. We got JScott. He is the commercial production director there, and Derek Rogers is the general manager, and they are risking their careers tonight being on this show. So like I told him, fortunately, very few people watch this show. So I think you guys are safe. How you doing? How's it going? There's some nice little
doing great
backgrounds there. I like that.
Hey, I'm just glad to see you, Warren. Jeez. It's been a minute.
Yeah,
it's been about 7 years since I was up in New York when I saw you. But it's been a minute.
That's right. I don't usually hang out with successful people, Derek. So you know that's why it's such a long gap in time. So you know I like to slum it. I want to see. Hang on a second. I want to use the power of Grayskull here. Let's see. What's that? What you got behind you there? You got memorabilia? What is all that stuff?
I do. Baseball fan, huge baseball, Cubs. This is all of my filth that I have collected over the years. And we built this bookcase when I moved back to Columbus, Starkville, and I could put all my stuff on it. And the funny part is there's actually, I just saw it, my television production textbook from college. No, can you imagine? My albums are back there. You can't see them right there. Albums there, and then baseball memorabilia all over the place.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I got
man cave sort of that I'd never come to. So
I got a city. Let's see. Let's see what.
Well, it takes a village. So yeah.
All right. Fair is fair. I did take that picture. So I took the picture with a camera. I did that myself. So it's a fake background, but the picture, it's all me. And we got JScott here. He's got his little collection of goodies back there too. Mm-hmm. Those your CD collection back there? What you got in there?
Oh, it's CDs and some DVDs and Blu-rays and all that stuff. Yeah.
Jim's a rocker. Now let me ask you something. Since you've gotten old like me, have your music taste kind of changed, or like have you gotten into different music than you did from back in the day?
Oh, country, definitely country. I'm all about country music now, like progressive country.
I think
there's like
they call that prog cunt. I think is that.
Yeah. Okay.
No,
but it's 18 minutes of pedal steel guitar solos and things like that. Wow. Mind blowing.
I really shouldn't have said cunt. Anywho.
But no, they really haven't. I still like the same old crap. So, yeah.
Mine is exactly the same as it was when I was 16. And actually, that's probably not true. Actually, working at Mix did expand it some. It has expanded very little since then in the last 30 years. My playlist is exactly the same.
I found I continue to look for new stuff to listen to, so I've found a few new bands over the years, that are good, but that kind of fit in with what I like. But, and my wife's introduced me to a lot of good music too, that I didn't know anything about. So,
See, and mine is just discovering different cuts from the same artist. Like, oh, wow. Like about 5 years ago, I actually listened to Jethro Tull, and I didn't really like Tull, and I don't love Tull, but now it's like, this stuff is really good. Some of this Tull stuff is good, and I never listened to it, but it's that kind of stuff. It's going back to the same artist, but just different stuff. But new stuff, no, not at all. No.
I got into.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say I got into acid polka, but didn't take. Hey, this guy Kevin Birchfield. That's guy. You guys can't see this. All right, so I'm popping up things from the chat here. So we got Kevin Birchfield. He says, "Radio guys listening." He's on Facebook. Wow, I think that's our first Facebook viewer. That's nice.
Somebody we know
ever, or
I don't know, maybe. Look, I don't get in people's business, if you're watching, send up a smoke signal, just send me a text with a thumbs up. I don't care. No, this show's almost a year old. Coming up in June, it'll be a year old. I actually stuck with something, guys. The ADHD didn't take me down this time, so kudos to me. Let me shout out the folks in the chat before we get started here. We got Ed Heller from Chicago. Gamers here, good to see you. Like we said, Kevin Birchfield joining us on Facebook. Kelly M, my future ex-wife, she's here. Let's see, and I think that's it for now right now. So people usually kind of I don't know, this is kind of like a gas station bathroom. People just kind of file in every once in a while, they wash their hands, take a dump, and back on the road. Kevin says, this is the only way I get to see Jim. Aw. Jim, are you still a hermit? Are you not sociable? You used to be such the social flower when we all worked together.
I am. I absolutely am a complete yeah. I don't see or speak to anyone. So
he's in his house writing his manifesto, getting ready for the day, and he's like, someday those kids, these mother. Well, no, we all have our own little personality quirks but we all manage to get together and cut up and just and have a lot of fun. I think that's what we all have, just very crazy senses of humor, and I think that was some of the things that made us such friends. I mean, that's at least 30 years, right? Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about, so might as well get into the subject. Let's talk about that. Basically, we all met in radio in North Mississippi in Starkville. I don't know if you and Derek knew each other before then. Did you guys meet at Mix
No.
106?
Yeah, this is my favorite story, and Jim's heard it, but it may have been a minute. In high school, I grew up in central Mississippi, and one of the stations that I loved listening to was Q101 in Meridian, which Jim will get into that, I'm sure. And one of my favorite DJs was one Jim Scott. So when I got to Starkville and heard that Jim was working there, you guys were doing, it was the day that Mix went 24 hours. And you guys and Jim did 24 hours on the air. I'm sorry, Jim, I'm telling all of your stories.
Yeah, that's okay.
And you were in with him, Warren. And I called in and I requested a song. And I told Jim, I said, I've listened to you forever. And I mean, we talked for a minute and said, yeah, I listened to you on Q101. And so I knew who he was. And then a few months later, I reached out and I was working there. So
yeah, because I had met Jim at KOR. That was like my very first radio gig, and Jim was working the AM side. He was the AM program director, and I thought at first, I thought
really?
Jim, yeah, I thought you just hated everybody. You were just like you were just so impersonal. No, I'm kidding. But you okay. You were busy, right? Because you were a one-man show, right? You were running the
That's
AM.
right.
You were the
That's
program
right.
director, but you were everything there, right?
Focus.
So I remember this plain as day. I'm talking to Bill Thurlow. He was the program director for KOR, and he took me downstairs to show me the booth. And you were off in the AM side there, like the mad professor, you know, you're just kind of like, you know, like a rabid animal that was caught, he got his leg caught in a trap, and you didn't want to talk to nobody. And he goes, hey, this is Chip Scotty, our AM program together. Oh, hey, how you doing, Jim? Like, oh, hello. You know, and then like you were foaming, and then you bit me, and I got rabies. So
Sorry.
best rabies I ever had. Chef's kiss. No, you were not like that. You were very friendly. But the thing was, when I started working there, I can't remember. I think I was working overnights at first, right? And then I was doing weekends or maybe it's weekends, and then I did overnights. I can't remember the order. But anyway, you had a 4-hour show on Sundays on KOR doing classic rock, right? And it was great. I used to come up there and hang out with you a lot too, because I liked the music, and a lot of the stuff I had never heard before, right? Because when I was growing up, the radio station we had to listen to, the closest thing to rock was this top 40 station. It was WQID in Biloxi, and but we had WRNO out of New Orleans. But the thing was, RNO, you could only hear it at night for some reason, because you know, where we were in Wiggins, it was about 90 miles away, and I don't know where their transmitter was, but you could listen to it at night, and I would hear some tunes like that. But then you were playing these tunes that RNO was playing. I was like, yeah, man, this guy knows where it's at. So, and you were playing like Yes, and you're playing Pink Floyd, and some deep cuts of Zeppelin and stuff like that. And it was just like, you know, it was like changed my music life, you know. And I started yeah, I mean, like, I liked rock anyway, but it was more like Journey, which you could hear on top 40 stations, like the rock you could hear on those kind of stations, right? But not like you if you heard Pink Floyd, it was usually Another Brick in the Wall, something like that, right? That was like usually the stuff you heard on there. But yeah, so I would hang out with you, and then you got the gig, program director over at Mix 106, and you asked me to come over and I came over there. I was doing nights there, and then I would have to wait usually 2 hours after my shift for John Thomas to come in. Rest in power, brother. Always late. That guy was always late. And he'd come in and well, he had this thing. He had didn't he have this mouthpiece that he had in his mouth? So when he got on the air, he talked like this. He had a lot of shusha in his voice. You know, you do this shusha. But then he'd take it out. He's like, "Hey, everybody, what y'all doing?" It's like, who the hell is this guy? So that's how I got into it. But I mean, like, since you're the kingpin here, Jim, what you were in radio for a while. Like, you were in radio back in Meridian too. How'd you get into radio?
Yeah. That all started in January of '85. So yeah, I had been in it for about 4 years, I guess, before maybe 4 or 5 years before we met, maybe a little longer than that. Because you started, when did you start at WKOR? 91 or?
Yeah, I think it was 91. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. If I was running the AM at that time, then I guess it must have been about 6 years that I'd been in it already. I went to high school with and elementary school with a guy named Todd Berry, and Todd got into radio when he was like 12, maybe 13. And was working at a station down in Meridian and still going to school, although Todd's attendance record was not all that great. And so we always knew when Todd had been working maybe an overnight shift or something like that when he didn't show up for school, So it was kind of a running joke. But he was working several years after he started. He went to work at Q101 in Meridian, and they needed a weekend overnight guy. All right, so bottom of the barrel, I was working at Winn-Dixie, and he asked me if I was interested in doing that. And my great goal in life at that point in time was to do sports broadcasting. So I figured, well, this will be good experience. So yeah, I'll take the job. But I was also working at Winn-Dixie at the same time. And so driving home from doing the overnight shift was adventurous, trying to stay awake. We're working like 7A to 4P on a Saturday, and then working midnight to 6 at the radio station. Yeah, that was fun. But that only lasted for about 3 weeks, because then at some point we lost our weekday overnight guy. And so they offered me the gig. And so I didn't have to do the weekend thing for very long. And I was promoted to weekday overnight guy, and did that for, I don't know, long time, a year maybe, I guess. But we had a show, going back to what you were talking about, Warren, on the Sunday show. We had a show on Q101 called Classic Sunday. And it was hosted by the great Lisa Landau for a long time. And I think maybe she left, or I can't remember, pretty sure that's what it was. And nobody wanted to host it because it was on Sunday. And I begged them, and I had barely any experience, but I just begged them to please let me host Classic Sunday, because that was right up my alley, And so yeah, from that's where, doing the same thing at WKOR, and then doing the same thing for an entire radio station at Mix 106 came from, a few years later. So you know.
Kevin says Lisa went to KZ 103 in Tupelo.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, that's it. And unfortunately, like JT, I think she's also no longer with us. So it's sad.
Oh, Tanya Finch is watching us, guys.
Hey, TK.
Bitch.
Check out some of my favorite guys. Yeah, she's doing that, and then she's making time. Yeah, she's making time for us too. Hey, bumps. That deserves a Sam Kinison. Okay, that's enough of that. All right, so that's a shout out because remember he's shouting. Anyway, so Derek and I we worked mostly in TV together, but for a brief time we worked in radio at Mix 106 when you hired him on. And Derek was talking about how he had known about you before then, I guess in your Meridian days, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah. I listened to Classic Sunday every
Classic
Sunday, driving around in the Mystery Machine with my friends. So Sunday afternoon, that's what we did. So yeah. And I had started, it was so funny because I got the part-time job at CBI, and Tanya Finch knows this because she went over there too. We all did. Tanya and me and anyway, I started working at WCBI, the television center at State, and Mix 106, all within about 3 weeks of each other. So I was working all three and going to school full time. So I would leave CBI and drive to Starkville and then work midnight to 6. And it was, I just celebrated 30 years at CBI, or 30 years when I started at CBI, not 30 years at CBI, I'd said on there, I'm not sure I ever had more fun than doing all that. It was exhausting, but when you're 22 years old, you don't care. And sure, why not?
You have a hell of a lot more energy, yeah.
I met Jim because of Lynn Presswood. You remember Lynn? Yeah, Lynn was working there, and I was friends with Lynn. And Lynn said, "We're looking for people." And I said, and she said, "You need to meet Jim Scott." I went, "Yeah, I want to go meet Jim Scott." So I go up and meet Jim Scott, and he basically says, "Yeah, sure. When can you start?" Can you start Friday night at the remote? You remember that? And
I remember that.
Yeah, and so you bring me over to the remote, and you said, "Here's the Marty. Here's the microphone. I'll see you at 6A." And you were going. And I'm sure I was like, Derek, it's one of those things. Hey, how you doing? I mean, it was awful, but that was my training. Yeah. Your training is from 10:22 to 10:25, and you're going on the air at 10:30.
Obviously, we needed a warm body, and
you got a warm body, all right. But then you hired me on to work, and I would work here and there for you. But that was, and then I got to know you, Warren. So
he put his fingers on your neck to make sure you had a heartbeat, and then he threw you in. He said, "Here's your training. Don't fuck it up. There's your training."
Wasn't it the Relay for Life or something like that?
I think it was.
Like a MSU intramural field or something like that.
That's exactly where it was.
Yeah. Wow.
I have a picture of the van that we used.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can pull that up real quick. I'm a little slow on the uptake, fellas, so just give me a second here. And yeah, this is too much fun. Wait a minute, which one is it? Okay, it should be that one.
What kind of show are you running here? Jeez, come on.
This is what we call put together with spit and baling wire. So
you gotta work on your staff here, dude. I mean, this is
really fire that guy.
You need some PAs, man.
I know, right? The boss here is an asshole. That guy should really be fired. All right, here we go. I think we got a little something here. So yeah, there it is.
Oh, there we go.
Mix machine at Crossroads Disc Tapes. That's right.
That's great.
Is that place still there? Crossroads?
No.
None of those places are in
Long
that strip mall,
gone.
right?
All
All gone. Who was the guy who ran that joint? He would always
Owen.
come in.
Yeah,
Oh, Owen, yeah. So so Owen would come in. He would come in, and when he like he would bring like some CDs and stuff, some like promo CDs and stuff, that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, I mean, he was very helpful in us getting some music to play at Mix 106. I mean, we had a trade out with the other record store, I think, with Bebop.
Bebop, yeah.
But we got a lot of music from Olin at Crossroads too, because I mean, when I started, just about everything was on. They were playing music off of the reels, which I'm sure you remember the reels.
Oh, yeah. Tell about the reels, man.
scared the heck out of me doing that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I couldn't figure that out. I mean, this was 1992. CDs had been around for about 7 or 8 years, and you're playing music off of reels. I mean, I just didn't get that. And now it was from a service. I can't remember the name of the service. Doesn't matter. But they would send us these reels of music periodically for the library, and a lot of it was good music. A lot of it was not. It didn't really fit what I considered to be classic rock. And so I one of the first things I did was spend a lot of time going through the lists of the songs on each reel and saying, okay, we're not playing that, we're not playing that, we're not playing that, we're not playing that. And so I guess it made it a little more difficult for playing the music off the reels because you had to skip songs on the reels. But yeah, it was imperative that we had to build up some kind of a collection of music quickly, and eventually we started getting actual CDs by actual artists, but also getting the CD equivalent of those reels.
Gold disc.
Yeah, and that was a huge help. And so I think. Were we still using the reels? I think after a certain point, we were not using them anymore.
Yeah, I think I barely used them. We had almost gone all the way CD by the time I started.
Yeah. I think by 93-ish, early 93-ish, I think the reels were pretty much history by then.
Yeah, we didn't use the reels very long, and you were right, because they're linear, right? So it's not like you can hit the skip button. You've got to physically, or like fast forward or something and get to the next song, and it was just like caveman days. And
I don't know how they were doing it. I really don't.
I think they just play a song and then they just play the next song that was on there. I bet you.
Yeah,
that's what I would have done. I ain't going on no Easter egg hunt looking for some song, and there's like, y'all kiss my black ass. We're gonna listen to this next song because it's next on the reel, kid.
Because it's next on the reel.
Yeah. And of course the reels being reels, when you're forwarding and rewinding and stuff like that, the tapes end up stretching, and so that's it for that,
Yeah.
And that was just a mess. That had to end.
Yeah, and you really got a great system in there too. It was the way you programmed that station. Like, okay, so at KOR we had pretty much this is the order, this is what we're supposed to play, and they were on carts, right? The what looked like 8 tracks to the unwashed. We called them carts, and we had songs on there, but we had specific songs that we had to play at certain times of the day and that sort of thing. And you had this system. It was like a book, and all the songs. And basically what you did was you had this book and you would update it like every week or something, I think, maybe. I don't know how you updated it, but you would, like, say you'd play a certain song, you'd write the date and time that you played it, so that when the next jock came along, they wouldn't play it again, and you saw the date when it was played, and then you have to wait a certain amount of time before you could play it again, right? But
Yeah,
what that did was, for as I enjoyed it, I'm pretty sure the other guys did too, because it gave you a lot more leeway to be like,
Yeah.
you know, the musical chef, as it were. You get to play the songs that you got to use your creativity and like build tempos and segue from a slower song to a faster song into a whatever, and it just like, it was just, you gave us so much leeway to be creative with that, and I really appreciated that.
Yeah, it was, it's weird because, Warren, you were talking about where you grew up down there in Wiggins and not really having that kind of radio to listen to. And I didn't either. I mean, there wasn't anything like that in Meridian at all when I was a kid. I mean, it was pop top 40 stations, but I used to be a real fanatic about listening to these special shows, special programs, weekend time filler programs that Q101 used to air, and the stations that were Q101's predecessors back in the 70s, and the history of rock and roll and stuff like that, and that's where I learned about what rock radio was in the 70s. It certainly wasn't from hearing it. And then I did some research and, found out about what people were doing still on up into the 80s in certain places. And one of the things that was one of the features of FM radio, of rock radio back then, was that the people on the air they could kind of express their own musical personality every time they were on the air, and I really wanted to bring that to us there at Mix 106. That's what I wanted it to sound like. I wanted it to sound like a one of those 70s rock stations, but a little bit more focused and not quite as, hey man, free form, I didn't want it to sound like that, so kind of 70s rock radio with an 80s 90s top 40 kind of focus to it, if that makes any sense. And I worked for a guy at Q101 named Tom Kelly, who had created these format sheets, and I thought those were brilliant as far as something that would kind of create a flow of music, and you'd make sure that you would cycle through all the hits, and then there were spaces where you could play, classic songs and oldies and whatnot. And we had a card system where you could choose the oldie you were going to play, whereas we had ours on, it was just sheets of paper, And so I took Tom's system and just modified it for what I was wanting to do there at Mix. Because by that time, you could get, you could get some kind of outside consultant or outside company or whatever to set up everything that you were going to do and tell you what you were going to play, and it would all be programmed for you and everything. But that cost money, and well, we just didn't have any money at Mix 106. So,
Right.
you know, so just didn't. So it had to be something that was homemade, and it worked out pretty well, I thought.
I remember you worked your tail off on it on a desktop PC, if I recall, and
Yeah.
it took forever to catalog whatever it was, Jim. 2,000 songs, maybe. I mean,
yeah, it was a lot. It was close to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think at its peak, it was about 1,700. And you know, today your average classic rock station, I think they rotate through maybe less than 1,000. I think
I've heard 500 in some places, which is just
Yeah.
awful. I mean, you hear the same. You hear that on Sirius XM.
right. You know, and
500 songs.
that might as well be. There's
Right.
The Office.
That's where the
I
magic
gotta put
happens.
glasses
Yeah.
on for that.
That, you know, to me, that might as well just be old top 40 radio from back in the day, you know, where you're
Yeah.
playing the same hits over and over and over and over and over. I just don't understand. I mean, how many times can you hear, you know, I don't know, Jet Airliner by the Steve Miller Band? It's not that that's a bad song, but dang, you know.
you run
Always
them
and
into the ground.
forever.
What?
I said forever, but what did you say, Derek?
I said, just run them in the ground. That Margaritaville, Brown Eyed Girl, and Sweet Home Alabama, which just shoot me, please.
Right.
If I hear any of the three of them,
Oh, come on.
just shoot me.
At least
I'm
look.
with you on every one of those.
Yeah,
At
it's
least
just overdone and overplayed. They may be great tunes, but I wouldn't know because I won't listen to them.
At least the crazy white old lady didn't yell and scream at you for playing cocaine. All right. This picture right here is Jim's office. So this is the program director's office. Jim, very OCD there. He was kind of like our friend Dennis Hudson there. Everything all nice and neat and stuff. And you know, that's an achievement in and of itself there.
Yeah.
So, you know, you talk about homemade too. There was we had to make do, and I think you did great with bringing like the shipwreck on Saturday nights. Yeah, and like 6 albums, no commercials, only in between maybe. And we had shows that came in. Oh God, I can't remember what it was, but they were like live shows. They were like it was like Westwood One type stuff that would come in. And so basically what I did was went in and I think I ended up like I took the live CDs so that we could have some live music or whatever, live versions of these songs, and I put like it's a you know, it's a cold out, or it fades out at a certain type thing. So, you know, so we had like extra stuff for the library, you know, and
Yeah.
but I took that upon myself because the Mix was like a home to me. It was like you guys were family, and I was, even when I wasn't working at the station, a lot of times I was up there hanging out with you guys. I was like Derek. I was going to Mississippi State at the time too, and but
Okay,
and,
lost you there.
oh, did it? Oh, okay, yeah. Wait a minute.
Spinning wheel of death.
Wait a minute. Okay. I knew he was going to use that. Yeah, good old Spectrum, not exactly the best.
Well, you talk about hanging out up there. That's how you and I got to know each other.
Yeah. Yeah,
you would just come in and hang out, and we just start talking about that and dumb stuff, and that's how I got you on the TV station, because it wasn't long after that we needed a PA, and so we were both working both places.
Yep.
And you know, it's always
You were working the
the
AM side doing the ball games at the very first, and then
right.
and then you came over to the FM side as a jock.
And then I worked midnight to 6 after Mikey. So
yeah, Mike Henry.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's still around. I've seen him
is.
on. I don't get on Facebook too much these days, but when I do, I've seen him on there. So, Mike.
No, that was what's so great. We were all tight and we didn't even work the same shift. And yet we knew each other. We all worked different shifts and we were all tight. That was really cool, and really fun.
That's
Well, I mean,
yeah. Go
I
ahead.
practically lived up there, so I mean,
That's true.
Well, you were building the
know.
place, so I mean, you were building the library, you were building the structure of the programming. I mean, that was your baby, and you could tell how much love you put into that place. Even though, like, we were joking before that the paychecks would bounce, and maybe we might get paid every once in a while, but that's got to be like top 3 jobs that I've ever had, maybe the top job that I ever had, because it was a great job to do and it was great people that we worked with together. Terry O'Neill, love Terry O'Neill.
Reg, the best.
Terry O'Neill, very soft and smooth from the 10 a.m. to 2 spot. Loved him some Elton John. Love that Elton John. That's why they call him Reg, right?
Because he loved Reg.
Call him Reg. Yeah.
That and he was an A's fan too. I think that was some of them. Jackson.
Oh right,
Reggie
yeah. Reggie Jackson. Well, there was a guy there. He had the best radio name. What was his name? Thad Funk.
Yes,
Thad Funk.
And he didn't use it on air. You remember that?
What a waste.
That's what you told him. You said, dude. I remember sitting in there.
Yeah, I don't remember what he called himself on the air though.
Oh, I don't either. Yeah, Thad Funk. Oh gosh.
That's like a porn star.
Their name.
That's like a porn star with a huge pecker, and he's the director. It's like, what are you doing, man? Come on.
It was something very plain, as I recall. It was just generic,
like Taylor's
spectrum. What?
No, yeah, go ahead.
I said at the other end of the spectrum, you might remember Bob Zilla, the rock and roll monster.
Bob Zilla,
who was foisted upon us. Yeah.
Oh, Bob. Wait a minute. Was Bob the guy? Bob the guy? He was the guy that looked like what's his name? Speaking of porn stars, he looked like the hedgehog. What's his name? He had the mustache. Did he? He kept calling the van the giant boombox that we had at KOR. That was our a remote thing, and he kept calling it that. And you're like, no, dude, it's this. What did we call the van at 106? What was that called? It was
a mix machine.
The mix machine, yeah.
Mix machine.
And he kept calling it the giant boombox, and you're like, no, Bob. No, wait a minute. It was. What was his name?
I don't think that was Bob. No, you're thinking of Bob Odenkirk.
Odenkirk, that guy.
Bob
okay.
On the air.
That's what I'm thinking of.
At WKOR. See?
Right, and that's why I kept calling the mix machine the giant boombox. I'm like, no, dude, it's not. It's a van. It looks like it looks like a sketchy van that you'd see in neighborhoods with kids. But no, it was
Captain Kirk and I worked together at WKOR, so that's why he kept getting confused. So.
I think Bob Zilla may have been after or before my time, because I remember
he was there when we were all there. Yeah,
at KOR.
I remember it now. I didn't remember it before you said it. I think I do. I remember Bob Kirk though.
And in fact, Bob Zilla, the rock and roll monster, is why we ended up doing the morning show together.
Really?
Because. Yeah, because the idea by other people was that by hiring Bob Zilla, the rock and roll monster, without my knowledge, that I would have to get rid of you.
Right.
And I refused to get rid of you, and I put you on the show in the morning with me. And so.
And then you said, "Man, I should have got rid of Warren." What was I thinking? Wait a minute. We got a little some of that if people want some cringe. Hang on a second.
Oh.
It's like 5 minutes on, but we'll do the first maybe a minute or so. That way I don't pull my hair out. Jim sounds great. He's pro 24/7. Me, I sound like that kid from The Simpsons. Oh, you want another piece of donut there, Mr. Simpson? I do sound so different, dude. I was listening to this like a few minutes before the show. I was like, man, that I do sound like that kid from The Simpsons. Hang on just a second. Yeah, let me get this going here. Hopefully this isn't gonna blow us out. We'll see. Bring that down a little bit. Let's do this, a little some of that, and Bob's your uncle.
Mix 106.
WSSO, WMSU, Starkville, Columbus, West Point.
Classic rock.
Classic Rock Mix 106. Hello there, folks. It's a couple of minutes after 1 o'clock, and perhaps you've been saying to yourself, if you haven't been listening to us for the last several hours, so I hope you have, but perhaps you've been saying to yourself, hey, wait a minute. Usually by this time of night, they play the national anthem, and the guy doing the little sign-off thing saying, we'll see you in the morning, and all that stuff, and then they're playing the static and all that on this frequency, but they're still playing tunes. What's going on? Well, Mix 106 is now 24 hours a day as of now.
The smattering of applause.
Yes. What an excited response. Yes. Cheers and cheers from the peanut gallery here. Yes. I think it is fitting to play this song to kick off our big 24-hour on-the-air forever celebration as part of the Mix 106 Rockathon. A little bit of rock and roll. Also, your request for the Van Halen block is on the way momentarily, so be patient. It'll be on the way right after the Zeppelin tune, okay, on Mix 106.
Okay, I think this may be another one.
18 in the morning, and we're just kind of having fun.
That's all me. So if
Jim's
you were wanting the morning show with us, that ain't it.
I think I subliminally I said, nah, I don't. People don't need to hear me. Let's see. It may have been. Not quite sure how that worked, but anyway, we'll let people just kind of imagine that.
All right. Well, I have a question I've never asked Jim, and that is, how did you talk them into letting you do classic rock? Because that was not Mix's format. Because Mike Grace went over, if I recall, Mike Grace went over and started Mix 106, but it was more top 40, 70s and 80s. So when they hired you, how did you talk them into doing that? Or was it even hard?
Well, it wasn't because Grace, Mike added some, because before Mike left and took WKOR and took over Mix 106, Mix 106 was just bizarre. I mean, they played the strangest stuff, and they didn't really have any kind of a format or any kind of a direction. It was basically, MSU sports, and we play some music, and everybody just kind of played what they wanted to play, I think. And Mike kind of tightened it up a little bit, and he did move it a little bit more in a classic rock direction, but they were still playing some, like you said, still playing some top 40 pop stuff. But then Mike decided to leave. He went down to Alabama, Mobile, where he still is. And then John Thomas, JT Williamson, took over his job as the GM ops manager, and so he wanted to bring me in as program director, and that was the direction JT wanted to go.
Okay.
He wanted it to be more classic rock, and he gave me free reign to do whatever I wanted, pretty much. And so I did.
That's great. There's the dream.
That's pretty rare too.
Really.
That's pretty rare too, because people are so controlling in that business too, right? To have that free hand to do it, that's kind of a dream thing, even though it was kind of fleeting, but still to be able to do that for that, even for just that short amount of time, it was pretty magic, dude. I gotta tell you, I still tell stories about those days like today to anybody that'll listen. You know what I mean? I did manage to find it. I'm gonna embarrass myself for like 5 seconds here. So Hopefully this works. I do need a producer, man. I really got to fire the one I got now. He is such a fucking asshole. All right, so never cleans up after himself. Okay, so
It's us again. It's the Mixed Morning Show.
Yeah, pretty much your morning flakes, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And
Who's
you
that
never
guy?
guess what
Frosted Flakes.
Frosted Flakes. They're great. Hey, you never guess what I saw last night.
What did you saw last night?
I was driving back on
Logs? No.
Logs. Logs.
Fuck?
I was driving back from Columbus late last night, and it was strange. These little drops were hitting my windshield.
Yeah.
I was like, well, what is this? And I look outside, and it was raining.
What's that?
that's enough
What's
of that.
rain?
Yeah.
That's what I said. I was like, what is this mysterious liquid falling from the sky?
All right, that's enough of that. So, gosh, Mr. Simpson. But I tell you though, like we were talking about this earlier. I was very nervous, and 23 years old, and I was used to doing like breaks and stuff by myself, and I'd never done. I mean, we would do like handoffs, like somebody's shift would end, and the next jock would be in there, and usually you do some little bantering or something like that. I was kind of used to that, but to be like, for what, like 4 hours a day, I was like, ooh boy. I was scared, but you were like I said, you were smooth as silk, man. You were just you carried that show. But it was still so much fun, and our ratings went up. Like for the when you came in and changed everything up and brought new jocks in there, and we started like playing kick-ass music and stuff. What were the ratings like when you got there?
Microscopic,
right?
No, I mean they weren't good. The only time that anybody listened to that station was when an MSU football game or basketball, basketball or baseball, football.
Yeah.
You know, MSU sports was on. People were listening, and then otherwise they weren't. And that changed, and you know, it was. It was when I got to actually see the numbers, because we didn't, you know, you had to buy the book, you know, you had to get Arbitron, you had to pay Arbitron to get the Arbitron ratings. And of course, again, you know, we just couldn't afford that. But my buddy Bill Thurlow had a copy of the ratings from his station, and he gave me a copy, which I think was maybe you're not supposed to do. And
all the time.
And it was, you know, it was really fantastic the way that the numbers had just jumped in outside of MSU sports, you know. And you know, we had a lot of people listening, and you know, classic rock, you know, that type of format, it's always back then, and I think probably even today, it was always, you know, well, only men are listening to that, you know, only teenage boys are listening to that, you know, and that just wasn't true. We had a lot of women listening.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we knew that from the women who were calling in to make requests and who were winning contests and stuff like. For the longest time, that was the only way that I could prove that people were listening, was by compiling those statistics, you know, of who's winning contests and who's calling in requests and things like that, you know. And I remember compiling all that information and having to present it to some people in 1993, and you know, it was good stuff, and I was proud of it. But they weren't willing to see it for what it was. And then I'd say about a month or so later is when I got a copy of those numbers, and that was, you know,
hey,
some
there's
vindication.
There's some lady, her name is Betty Joe Story Hyman. 4 names.
Sounds vaguely familiar.
She must be an aristocrat with the 4 names. She says, I wasn't in the area, but I would have listened. That's very nice of you, Betty. It's good to see you, or good to see your words anyway. You know what I mean? Right, because you had you had 2 powerhouses. You had the urban station, and you had Kick It 103. That was like your country and your urban were always like battling each other out. But we ended up I think we ended up number 3, right? We got as high as 3, maybe higher than that, maybe.
I believe that's right. And a lot of it, it was like an overall, it was 3, and then there were certain times a day and demographics where it was as high as 1 or 2, it just depended.
That's great.
But that's a hell of a turnaround.
Yeah, it was,
and in a very short time too. Because that's how there was a need for classic rock music. And the cool thing was too, it wasn't just classic rock too, because this was around the time the grunge music was coming out, right? Remember everybody in the flannel shirts and stuff. So we had the new music hour like on Wednesday nights, I think. So we were playing music by like Pearl Jam and Soundgarden
Nirvana.
and Red Hot Chili Peppers, REM,
Yeah. Well, we were, that was, I didn't want to just play old stuff, so we played a lot of new, everything that was new, that was, rock music, we played it. And plus with the college audience, you had to play, a lot of, so-called alternative music, and we did that too. And so, it was, it was called Classic Rock Mix 106, but it was really not just that, so.
Yeah.
And I think that was also part of, why we were able to do as well as we did. I just always believed that, as far as rock, programming a rock station was concerned, I just always felt like for rock music, for people who like rock music, the album is the thing, right? And more so than the single. And so to me, if you had the album, then you knew the songs on the album, even the ones that didn't get played all the time,
Yeah.
if you had the Fleetwood Mac Rumors album, you'd heard Dreams and Go Your Own Way, but you knew the other songs on the album, so why not play them? It just, made sense to me.
Well, but you'd never heard that. That didn't happen.
Right.
So that was what was so cool about it.
Yeah.
The timing was perfect because like that wave of music was coming out like right when the 90s hit. And I think that was probably part of the success too, was that it was a college town, and the college station there was playing like the real alternative stuff, like playing like Echo and the Bunnymen and New Order and stuff like that rock stations weren't playing. But now all those are considered classic rock too, if you can believe that. That's crazy.
They don't get played anyway. Not now.
Right. Yeah. So, well, now it's just, we're going to get into that in just a second. Ed Heller says, us college DJs had to find the next hit because you normie rock jocks kept stealing our tunes. Suck it, college DJ. Get a real job. Now I worked at Mississippi State. I think that was one of the last, after mix, I was like back and forth. I was in and out of school. Like I was working, then I was going to school, then working, going to school, all this stuff. And I was at the college station. I really enjoyed that, but I didn't enjoy it nearly as much as I did 106. Which kind of brings us to today, now in 2022. I mean, Derek, you have a sales background, and I mean, radio in a way is comparable to TV, I guess. You know, you got markets, it's all about local. I mean, what do you think is going on with radio these days?
Well, I'm also involved in Mississippi Association of Broadcasters, so I've gotten to know a lot of small owners, and it's really fascinating. There's one lady that runs a station that's actually in our TV market that's on our board, and you know, she wanted to be able to get involved with something that we were doing one weekend, and she said, "I can't because I'm the employee." And you know, and she inherited it from her parents, and she and her husband work it, and you know, she actually called us and wanted our weather, and she said, "I've got this problem at the transmitter, and I've got an engineer that we share between a lot of these other independents, and it's a tough road." And she, you know, takes a service, but you know, she actually owns the station. On the flip side of that, another good friend of mine who's got a cluster of stations in Kosciuszko, they're doing amazing work at Boswell Media. And we just got back from the awards, and they took home a ton of awards because they still have a local feel, and they still are in their communities. And I love the work that they're doing. They do sports. It's like a throwback. You know, when you look at the sports they do and live jocks, and it's not all live, but the drive times are, and they are all about Kosciuszko in the area. and that's what I miss about the radio, is that nobody's on there talking about the cities anymore and talking about what's going on and bringing, you know, talking about people. And I think you really miss that. And so I love what they're doing over there. And I think those are few and far between, I think, but whenever they're around, you know, you promote them and you help them out and you listen, and they have a lot of fun over there.
Yeah, it's these days now. I have friends. I was recently on an internet radio show, TNT Radio. No relation to the TNT TV network, but they I'm seeing a lot more of that now, where because I mean, you're talking about your overhead is so cheap. You mean, like, what we're doing here right now, if we had like the jscott license or something, we could run a radio station right out of the living room, you know. And you know, I mean, you don't see that to a certain extent. You see more like talk shows, I think, more like talk radio. That's what I was on. I was talking to Misty Winston. She has a show on there, and she had a big presence in social media, and she's a big advocate for free speech and free press. So she got the gig, and yeah, and she's doing well with it. Some things never change. The pay's still shit. But you know, but it seems like it's advanced. And I was talking, you'd mentioned, Jim, Bill Thurlow earlier, and he brought up some good points on Facebook the other day, because he works with Super Talk Media. You said you're familiar with that. Can you talk a little about them?
Well, some. I mean, you know, they built a network of stations across the state, which you know, I've always really admired that, and admired the work that they do. You know, they have you know, each station can have its own local stuff, but it primarily you know, comes out of their main office. You know, they've got a morning program and midday program and sports programming and stuff. So it goes out to all those stations across the state. But yeah, I mean, I love what they do, and it's I think a very fascinating, you know, success story.
Yeah, that's for the.
I don't know that much about the inner workings of it and all that, but still,
Right.
you know.
Bill works for a local station. He works for 96, Warren. Still laser.
Laser 96.
And Bill sells, but he has a show too. He has an afternoon show, drive time show that, I'll pick it up and he does that stuff too. I mean, he does what he always did. I mean, he talks about stuff that, comes up. He talks about local stuff. And I think if you asked him if he could do that for 8 hours a day, he probably would. But Thurlow has to be a lot of things at that radio station.
Yeah.
Just like the old days. I mean, but he's a lot of things, but he does get to put his stamp on it. It keeps him out in the community. People still know who he is because he's got good listeners and we partner with them for stuff sometimes, or he'll holler at me about this or that. And it's great.
Yeah, Bill. I tried to see if Bill could be on with us tonight, but he couldn't. He couldn't be here tonight. But this is what he was telling me on Facebook. He said, "Radio still has a massive reach. The biggest problem lies with the biggest companies losing sight of their local communities, and by virtue of their broadcast footprint, they are the face of the industry. It's unfortunate because their first priority will always be about the bottom line." Our company, Super Talk Media, is a big believer in being live and local while being fiscally responsible at the same time. It's possible and very rewarding. So that's the thing to me. It's like you're always going to have the local loyalty. I mean, that's the same in TV too, because while you can probably get like your news off your phone, like national news and stuff like that, there are times, particularly like in weather emergencies, when cell towers and the internet goes down and you have to rely on terrestrial transmitters for radio and TV,
Well, and that's the thing. We've got a group of stations based out of the Golden Triangle that carry our wall-to-wall coverage, plus 3 others, little independents that carry our coverage. And, which I love it because they promote me all the time, and they love it because I promote them. When we're on the air, we say we are on these stations right now. And my meteorologist will, call out where you can tune in. And heck, I've used it myself driving in filth, and turn it on and know that I can hear my guys. And I think that if you ask them, they would probably say, we wish we still had that local presence. And I think some of them do, but I know a lot of them are taking us,
Yeah, for the longest time, after the big the giant corporate takeover started in the late 90s, and then for several years after that, it was bad. It was a real serious void in this area as far as that was concerned, because people, Warren, I mean, people around here are very severe weather conscious.
Yeah.
And you couldn't get it on the radio very much at all. And
Right.
So teaming up with these local stations like we've done, and how many did you say, Derek? 8, 6, 9?
We got all Cumulus plus 3 others. So
yeah. So I mean,
7, 8.
That's fantastic. And really they're getting the best weather coverage anyway. It's not like they were going to have somebody in-house who was in-house meteorologist at a radio station, So it's worked out really well for all the way around, and it's great for the market and for the listeners, But for a long time, not good.
No, and I've never worked for corporate radio. But I think that the guys who work on that level, who I've gotten to know a lot of them, and, we know a lot of them just from the old days. But those guys still care, and those guys still want to do that kind of work. And they don't always get to. I think they have some limitations, but I'll tell you, where they can, they will. And And I know that there are a few groups that are like that. I got another friend that's owns a cluster of stations in Natchez. And she said, and she hired a great program director. I mean, I was like, you're still hiring program director? Yeah. And she goes, because we do a lot of live, and I've got, 4 stations and they're all different. And she said, I don't want, and this is where we were talking about this, Jim, I don't want a 500 song station. I want you to program me a 1,500 song station. And I will listen to that in my office sometimes, because you will hear tunes you never get to hear. And it's not classic rock, but still it's 70s, 80s, and I think it's 60s, 70s, and 80s, and it's 1,500 song catalog. And I'm like, I'm all about it.
That sounds fantastic. I mean, I get everybody associates me, everybody who knows me. I mean, if you've been listening to this, watching this, I mean, it's like, oh, he's just, the 18-minute long prog epic, but I love pop music, good pop music from the 60s and 70s and 80s. And there's just tons of it, so many great songs that have just been cast aside and forgotten about and ignored because you've got to have that 500 song library.
And I don't know who decided that that's a thing. I really don't, because I mean, you almost can't listen to some satellite radio now because it's turned into that. It's 500 songs. And I heard the same song twice in a day. Are you kidding me? You would have never heard that on Mix 106. You might go a week and not hear the same song twice.
It's really amazing. I mean, there are songs, that were top 10 hits from the 60s, 70s, 80s that are gone.
Yeah.
You don't ever hear them ever. Unless they're in your phone.
Right.
It's
that's another thing that's it's kind of really stuck it to radio too, is like, services like Spotify and iTunes. Why do I gotta listen to local radio and randomly wait for the song I want to hear when I could just go boop 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 and there it is, and there's something to be said about convenience, but that's not the point of radio. I mean, the point of radio is an art form in and of itself. Yeah, you make money off of it, obviously. You try to generate income with ads and stuff like that, but for the most part, like we were talking about earlier, the way you program the station, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other really good program directors out there did similar things with their stations to make them part of the community, make them like, this is your radio station. This is if a storm's hitting or something, we would have we'd have the Weather Channel in there, right? And we could at least we couldn't do the due diligence like the TV stations could with the maps and stuff like that, but that's not what it was about. It was like try to give you what information
we
you could.
Though, remember?
Did we have radar? Did we have
we had radar at Mix 106. Yeah.
I forgot.
I thought we just had Weather Channel. Are you talking about the radar on the Weather Channel?
No, our own. We had our own radar. Yeah.
I do remember that, though. Every 8 minutes, you try to catch the forecast so you could write it down so you could read it on the radio.
Are you talking about like the teletype thing? There was like and it would spit out some it was like in a closet that. You got to refresh my memory.
It was legit radar. It had a little monitor set up that was over on the left side of the control room, outside of the control area there where the board was and all that. It was on the left side of the room, up against the wall, if I remember correctly. A little monitor it was,
I couldn't have told you where it was.
It was a legit radar. Mm-hmm.
I could not. No, okay. Now you're just lying to me. That can't be right. I practically lived in that booth. Hold on, hang on a second. All right, I'm gonna do a shameless picture of me, but I want you to tell me where this was. Okay, so here's this asshole. Picture. Yeah, this asshole.
There it is.
So Okay, so here's the booth. All right, so where in relation to all this was this supposed radar? Allegedly.
It would have been over on the left side of the room, where there was that little walk space there where you could go back to the AM transmitter. Remember that there was that door there to go back to the AM transmitter, which is on the other side of the glass there.
I see those.
And,
yeah.
So there was when you walked around the left side of the control room little U space, there was a little walkway over there to go to that door, and then that's where that radar was.
I swear to God, I do not remember that.
I don't know how accurate that it was, but it was there.
I didn't smoke pot in those days, so that was a little later. So I didn't. Well, you know what? I didn't smoke at all. So usually, like, some of the smokers would go out that door and then have a little smoky in the back there.
Right. Yeah.
Back in the days, but no, I do not remember that we had that. That is so crazy. I probably did see it. And it's been 30 years, so I'm lucky. I have to write my name in my underwear, guys. So just in case. But I mean, that's right. So getting back to what we were talking about, it seems like, well, okay, so back in 96 you had the Telecommunications Act that also kind of where basically it went from like 25 different companies were owning stations, and then now you got like 5 or 6, maybe less than that now.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that had something to do with crimping the style of radio on buying up all those stations and stuff, right?
Yeah, because Cumulus and Clear Channel and a couple other companies just started snapping them up right and left, and the rules that existed about a company couldn't own more than so many stations, and couldn't own a certain number of radio / TV stations in the same market. All that stuff went out the window.
Yeah, newspapers too. Newspapers too.
Newspapers.
Any kind of media like that was involved. Yeah.
They found a loophole in the Telecommunications Act and just started snapping everything up. So, I remember when Cumulus came in here and bought up all the stations in Columbus and well, no, just Columbus. So, yeah, and they still own them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of them they gutted them. They took the local out of it, like you said, right? Like some of these stations you can't like if you want to hear local news or local weather or something like that, they're not going to give that to you. You're just going to hear some jock out of Kansas City or something. It's snake in the elbow in the morning, some bullshit like that. And you don't have any local presence, and you don't have any local presence. People will, I guess, listen to the morning show or something, but they're not going to rely on that station for any sort of information. They'll probably turn to your TV station, that's that. And, that's what else can they do? Right.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, do you think do either one of you guys think that we're going to return to those days of like local? I mean, is it just going to have to, or is it going to be like doing it out of somebody's house kind of thing? You're not going to have TV or radio stations. You're going to just have like individual. I mean, what do you think about like individuals just doing radio out of their own places?
Well, I don't know a lot about it. I know that there are a lot of people doing it. I think it's just, can you find the audience? I guess you have to promote the crap out of it to get the kind of listeners you need. Well, I don't know that it would ever be a 24/7 live jocks again, just because it's just not profitable. I don't know how you could pay the light bill and do it. But the two examples just here in Mississippi that I gave, at least there's some local And unless you got a guy with deep pockets who doesn't care, who could bring that back, I'd listen. I mean, I would, and just anything for a little diversity would be great. So maybe someday, but in the meantime, I think just grabbing the nuggets you can get, that the people who still care about their communities and will stay in them, I would hope to see more of that, but only from independent owners, I think.
Right. Yeah, you'll still get that from people like that, and I guess there's fewer and fewer and fewer of them every year, I suppose. But and so it's good that it still exists in some form. But yeah, I don't think that's ever coming back. We were, Derek, in our meeting the other day, we were talking about the talent and how difficult it is to find talent for television.
Yeah.
And the talent drain in radio has been going on longer than that, because there just aren't nearly as many jobs. And so, finding people who can really, be broadcasters, who can really communicate, and it's just few and far between.
It is. The funny part is I had a conversation with our COO a few years ago, and he's very creative as far as trying to find avenues to get the word out. And he and I had a long conversation about trying to find a radio station. And he said, "What would you think about us?" And I said, "Absolutely." As a matter of fact, we had a conversation about AM radio because of the AM Revitalization Act, which we supported with the broadcasters and translators and things to really improve the quality, because AM is just a wasteland. And that's too bad, because there's so many frequencies out there. And I said, absolutely. I know guys that are doing this. I said, let's try to find an AM and we'll put our own stuff on it. Maybe we'll do music, maybe we won't, but just another vehicle for WCBI. I was all for it. And then you can't get one. I mean, it seems like you would be able to find an AM pretty easily. And yet we couldn't really do it. Not right now, but I'd still be into it. And the first person I was going to go to was that guy right there to go, what can we do? Let's just have fun with it, And
why was it so difficult? I mean, why is it so difficult to find one?
I think because nobody's was really selling. I mean, right. I don't think some of these big guys are going to sell. Maybe they would, but you also have to get it at a price that, works. And I'm not privy to any of that stuff. I mean, that's way above my pay grade. But I was all for doing it and trying to localize it, in some way. Even if we just ran our newscast some, or if we did sports, I wanted the opportunity to try to do something with it. And so, I mean, the AM Revitalization Act I thought was brilliant. And so, and get your translator and boom, you're on the air, and your quality is just as good as anybody else's.
I was,
yeah, I know. I know. And I haven't given up on it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was listening to I listened to on YouTube. There's Hardlands Media out of Chicago, and they're basically part of this company called 99 Perspectives, and part of the company, they have terrestrial radio stations. They do all kinds of stuff. They play classic music on some of them are talk. And Lainey Peterson, one of the she's part of the radio setup there, and she was talking about I believe it was like licenses for FM low power stations, and yes. So that's another avenue that can be looked at too. Because when I think, when you were talking about trying to get an AM station, the first thing I thought about was like like a minor league team, right? Let's say you know, like where you're at in Columbus, you're in a college town area, right? Starkville's only like 20 minutes down the road. You have, like, say you have an AM station, and you don't have room at your TV station to get, you know, aspiring journalists on the air, right? You just don't have any room on the in the lineup, right? But maybe on these AM stations they can do I'm not saying you in particular, I'm just saying in general, maybe TV stations, if they do get these AM stations, that they could say, okay, this is gonna be an all news format, and then we can bring in people that are maybe studying journalism at the local college, you know, at the W or at State or wherever. They can do their journalism there, and if they end up being good enough, maybe, you know, they get the call up to the majors, you know, when somebody leaves, that kind of thing. So there's an avenue there.
Absolutely hear you. And the issue that we're having, to touch on Jim, and I know this is not where we were going, but you've got big stations now that are hiring these kids out of college that
Right.
and they're not doing these kids any favors. And I'll go to schools all the time and talk to students and say, you need to come to a small station so you can mess up, get better, and move on as somebody else. And I think 5 years ago, that would have been a very realistic thing to do. Somebody who's not quite polished yet, but could hone their skills on the radio.
Right.
I think it's a great idea. The funny part is that when we go to these schools, there's still a handful of kids who want to do radio. And then you have to destroy their lives and tell them that those opportunities are so small.
Yeah.
Go talk to these two people, and they may have a place for you. Good luck finding somebody who's doing it local.
The only thing I see, like a path for people who want to do something with the semblance of radio, is through live streaming, like we're doing here, right? You can it's used to, like when YouTube was the only game in town, and you saw people getting their own shows, but they were doing like crazy stuff, you know, like cat and dog videos and stuff like that. And they're very popular, very pop culture type stuff. But in recent years, you started seeing a distrust for like mainstream media. So, people were looking for alternative news sources. So journalists who weren't getting on TV, who weren't getting on the radio, just started doing their own thing, like on YouTube. And now, like I said, we're on 6 different platforms tonight with this show. This isn't a news show though, you know. I just have on interesting people. I'm more of a conduit. I'm definitely not a journalist, at least not anymore. And but shows like this, you know, where we can bring on people that can't do their journalism other places, or maybe they're doing it themselves and they just need somebody else to help, you know, shout them out to whatever, you know. And I think that's where a lot of it's going. There are a lot of news shows on the internet in the form of live streams, and they're talking to like big name people. And I think like something like that too, for a small area too, would be great. You know, I mean, maybe you could train on an AM station, you know, if you have that, and then you can either have the option of staying there, not making any money, or trying to find your own sponsors, you know, which if you're in a bigger, like, you know, I'm in New York, so you probably find like whoever local people around here, but you go to small town Mississippi, that you're talking a totally different story. But yeah, man, it's, you know, AM, it's just I don't think it's dead. I don't think it will die. It just needs to transform into. I think it's in the cocoon right now, and it's gonna go from that caterpillar to a butterfly. It's gonna turn it, because we can't waste that technology, right?
I agree. I think somebody's missing an opportunity if you can't do it. But, you know, I mean, I'm sitting here. my mind's going 90-0 right now, just talking about what we could do. It's I don't know. It's exciting to think about.
Well,
but we're doing that on TV a little too. That's, we're thinking of different ways because TV's not the same. And we're not talking TV, but it's not. And as Jim said, we just had this conversation with my brain trust at the station, and we were sitting here kicking around stuff. And news director Not Today talked about stuff. An all local channel. What can we do with that? And that's not too dissimilar from what we're talking about, but we got to be relevant. If you could find a radio station that could be relevant locally, I think it could succeed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. Oh, go ahead, Jim.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, you could couple the technologies. I mean, like, you could do stuff on radio and you could also do stuff on the internet too at the same time. In fact, a lot of radio stations are doing that now. I mean, look at Howard Stern and, was it the Breakfast Club? I think they're out of New York. Well, these are big time people, but they also do their radio shows. Some of them do them on, I think they do them on TV somewhere, maybe terrestrial TV, maybe on cable, but they're also online too. So if you can combine the two, you may be able to spice it up and make it more attractive for potential, advertisers, that sort of thing. I think that's what advertisers like this here. It's like new stuff that people are just getting into. If you get on the ground floor of it, and this could be a big thing for your business, because it's another avenue of getting in touch with people. But at the same time, we could still be grounded in radio. I just hope radio never goes away, because it's such a big part of my life, and ours too. Yours too. Yeah. I'm sure. So we don't have too much time left. I told you this time was going to fly by, boys. It's like it's 9.
You did say that.
It's an hour 40. We've been doing this for an hour 40. So now we got to end the show for the last 20 minutes. We got to talk crazy radio stories. We got to talk about the buck wild. Just what the hell? Just the craziest. Okay, so Derek, what's your craziest radio story that you can tell people that you're okay telling people?
Start with Jim, because I don't know that I've got anything insane other than time.
Yeah, go ahead.
I panicked one night. I panicked. If we were talking about playlist, oh God, it may have been the 3rd or 4th night I was in the overnight. And you talking about, you have all this freedom and you can play whatever you want. Yeah, after 3 days of that, now what do I do on the 4th day? And I remember playing a song and absolutely locking up. I didn't have dead air or anything, but until I got going, I'm just grabbing discs and throwing them in there and playing them. And if Jim had been awake, he'd have called me and go, "That's not building tempo. What are you doing?" I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not even supposed to be here. I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm just grabbing stuff until, I absolutely went blank. And I've got over it after about 45 minutes. I never told him. I don't think you probably knew, Warren, but I don't think I ever told Jim. Good God, I would have been horrified. But so that's not a crazy story, but it was probably the first one where I just absolutely froze and panicked.
No, that makes sense. I can understand anxiety when it comes to that stuff. Like, I remember a few times. These aren't crazy stories, but this kind of go along with what you said. I remember sometimes getting there maybe a couple of minutes before the shift started, and I'm just frantic. Like, okay, did this get played? No, okay, this because you gotta get your discs together for your show. Or at least get enough together to where you could play a few songs, and then you'd have time to figure out what you was gonna do next.
Peter
there was
Frampton was my best friend I tell you how many shows I let off with that, or I'm your captain closer to home, because that's 15 and 10 minutes until I can get my bearings. I remember Mike Henry one night, he goes, Derek Rogers is up next with a mixed six-pack. And I said over his shoulder, you're not getting a mixed six-pack. I said, I'm fixing to play a 15-minute song.
I remember that. I remember that. Yeah, I think people started figuring out that whenever like really long songs were coming on, you're like, oh, somebody's taking a dump. Somebody's that's a dump song.
Having time to go to the bathroom or have a cigarette at Mix 106 was no problem at all.
Right?
We had you covered, you know. You had any number of possibilities, you know. So,
well, so like, yeah, you're right, because like with classic rock, you do have some like epic songs, especially like Yes, some of those Zeppelin tunes, In My Time of Dying, or you know, In My Time of Dumping is what I would call it personally. And because that was good, like good 8-9 minutes, maybe 10, I'm not sure. But like at KOR you couldn't do that because it was pop songs, top 40, man. It was like maybe 4 minutes at the longest, if that. You know, you know, you can go tinkle, but you're not gonna be able to do anything else. Dead air was always my thing. Like when I first started doing overnights at I maybe okay, this is when I first moved to Starkville from the coast. And I was living in a trailer park with a couple of other fellows. And I remember distinctly, I got in the overnight gig. I think it was like Monday through Friday overnights. And I would wake up for at least the first couple of weeks. I would wake up in the middle of the night just like panicking because it was silent. I would be in my bed, in my, at the place, not at work. And I'm looking around going, dead air, dead air, dead air. And I'd see my clock and I'd look at the bed and like, oh shit. Did that ever happen to any of you? You ever get like the dead air like trauma at home?
Well, for me, it's dreams that lives on today for me in dreams.
Yeah.
And it's constant. I mean, I have the I can't find the music I'm trying to play, and I sound like an amateur on the air dream constantly.
Yeah.
With some variations on the theme, but it's almost always the same sort of thing. I'm on the air, and nothing is organized. Everything is just all over the place, and my songs keep running out on me and I can't find anything, and just constant dead air, and the last one I had a couple of weeks ago had a new wrinkle. There were some suits who were threatening me that I was, you suits. Keep that up, and so yeah, that was a new added wrinkle to the radio dream.
Oh, I remember a real live nightmare, and I don't know if you guys remember this or not. It was probably a weekend afternoon, and we had 2 CD players, and one of them started skipping. And I remember going, I don't know what, because you're playing a song and then you're talking, which we never did that. I mean, and I remember saying it on the air because it's skipping. What are you supposed to do? I went, well, it's 1992. I guess we have CD players that skip, and and I remember getting a call from Adair and going, "Are you okay? Is everything all right? You just sound horrible. You just sound." And I went, "Well, I've got a little technical issue, and I'm trying to work through it." That was a nightmare. And I don't remember what happened with that. I don't remember anything after me just trying to throw discs into one CD player.
That's all you could do. That had happened to me before too. And the thing, or it just wasn't working, period. and or just died, you know, whatever. And then you play a song, and then da 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 da. It's like long, dead air. But you know, it could have been worse. It could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, the only backup we had were those stupid reels, you know.
Yeah.
And we always had at least one queued up there for just in case, you know, because we had the turntables next to us that didn't work.
Right.
And we didn't have any songs on carts. So your only saving grace there was to hit the reel button, you know, just in case. But
it got to a point though that like you're so used to the CDs, you forgot what the pot was for the reel, and how to, you know, is it like the Flintstones? You gotta open it up and feed the bird. It's a living so that the damn thing would run in the first place, you know, because the shit was so ancient.
I couldn't have run those reels after working there with CDs for a year. No way.
No. Nah, that was as far as I was concerned, those reels were the devil, and I wanted nothing to do with them ever again. And you know, because we had when we did audio production, we had reel to reels that we used, and those were they were kind of newer ones. The ones in the booth were like, I think there was a bird in there you had to feed. You know, I don't know for sure, but I would definitely bet the farm on that. But the Adair reference, that's what we were talking about earlier with cocaine. There was the station owner, Joe Phillips, and his wife Adair, and Joe's dad was like he was a big radio guy, right? He owned like a few stations, like a couple stations, maybe. Yeah, he was like a big name in the market, and his son, not so much. But he liked him some NASCAR. He'd go down to Talladega. I'm gonna go down there. What? Oh, okay. So you gotta get him on the phone. A telephone call, a one-sided telephone call with Joe Phillips, and you didn't have to hear the other side. It didn't matter. It was usually his wife Adair, and he'd just be like, "What? Yeah, I got it. No, I'm going to Talladega. I bet. Look, I got people. I gotta go. Okay, bye. Okay. Adair, I can't. Look, I got. Okay, bye. Okay, bye. Okay, bye." And then you hang up. Oh my God! We'd stand at the door. We should have popcorn and just watch that. That was free entertainment. Just he was a super nice guy, but was just dumb as a bag of dicks. You know what I mean? He was just like, "Come on, son, we'll go Talladega." No, you gotta pay your staff, dude. You gotta pay the thing. Anyway, so Joe was one of my favorites. It was him and that crazy wife of his. Wow. That's part of the mystique though. That's part of the history. You know, you always got to have like, you know, your Mr. Carlsons in there that are just like, you know, at least Mr. Carlson was a little bit more functional. I think he was probably a little bit more functional. He managed to pay his DJs at least, I think, at WKRP, right? I mean, we can assume.
Mama Carlson.
Mama Carlson, yeah.
Mama Carlson, yeah. So, but I mean, that's I don't know what, Jim. I know you've got to have some.
The thing about him is that, you know, he had his issues, but at least he was somebody you could get along with. You know,
right?
He was a nice guy. You know,
he was a nice guy.
He might not have been the sharpest tool in the shed, but he was a nice guy.
Right.
And he tried. You know. So, you know, I definitely would, you know, give him a pass. You know, I worked with some other people in the business who, you know, were just assholes. So it's
there's a lot of ego.
No other way you can say that, you know.
There's a lot of egos and assholes in radio too. That was I was glad that for the most part we didn't have anything like that at 106.
No.
You know, I think that's what made it pretty special and very memorable too. You know, I mean, Okay, so Jim, I know you've got to have some crazy ass story. You and Marconi invented radio, right? That's how old you are. So, I kid. So, all right, I mean, it don't have to be the craziest, but just what is a crazy story that you like to talk about from radio?
Let's see. Okay, I'll tell you that probably the craziest one of them all. And I've got a pretty good list, but when I was at Q101, this was 1987, I think, and I was working 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. That was a really solid period there at Q101, because our Tom Kelly, who I mentioned earlier, he had come back to the station, and we had a really solid staff, and I had a great shift and was having a lot of fun. But we were supposed to lock the door that led out into the parking lot that was just down from the control room, and you were supposed to keep it locked at nighttime. Well, nobody ever locked it. So I'm on the air one night, and a woman comes in wearing a fur coat, and she has a Great Dane with her. I mean, this dog was gigantic.
Sounds like a joke.
And
where's the punchline?
Yeah, well, yeah, the joke was on me. And so as you walk in the door, the control room is right there. So, you can't help but see who's on the air. So she walks in, and I'm just, what the hell? And she asked me if I could play a song. And I said, well, what? And she actually had a 45 of a Todd Rundgren song. It was not one of his hits, but it was something that was released as a single back in the 70s, and it was called "We Gotta Get You a Woman."
Heard of that song? Yeah, we gotta get you a woman. Oh, yes. Right, yeah.
So she wanted me to play that on the air, and I said, "Well, I can't do that because that's not part of our format. It's not in our playlist, so I can't play that." I said, "But." Because it was beginning to get obvious that I wasn't going to get rid of her, so I told her I would play it for her in the studio only, not over the air, So I put it on and I play it, and she listens to it. It's not that great of a song, and she wanted to hear it again. So, okay, so I cue it back up and play it. Then she comes around into the U there and plops down in my lap. And song's going, and then she pulls out a joint, and she lights up, and I had never, I smelled some weed at a concert, once, and that was my extent of my experience with weed. So she lights up a joint, and she's sitting in my lap, and I'm desperately wanting to get this person out of the radio station, and she's trying to blow weed smoke in my mouth.
Oh no.
And meanwhile, there's a Great Dane wandering around.
Wait, was the Great Dane smoking too? Did the dog have a joint too? Okay, I'm sorry.
He had a cigar, actually, I think. That's more of a Great Dane smoke there, I think. So anyway, we listened to the song in the studio a couple of more times, and then I think I finally just said, "Look, you've got to get out of here. I'm sorry, but this is just, I'm going to get in really big trouble, And so finally get her to leave, and everything's back to normal. And then, I left. Well, see, I left out. I'm sorry. I left out the key part of the thing here. My mistake. Well, it was only 35 years ago, so bear with me. While she's still in my lap, the program director and his buddy who did the morning show with walk in and walk past the window, and they both look through the window and are just laughing their asses off. So, and so it was at that point that I said, okay, see, I'm going to get in really big trouble now. So you've got to get the hell out of here, So she did finally leave. And I found out later, of course, they were the ones who set her up to do that. She was actually an escort. I don't know how many of those we had in Meridian, but she was, a woman of the night.
And, I love that they sent him in there. That's great.
And they had paid her to come to the station to do that. And so that was
the dog a prostitute too? What about the bumpers? The dog.
I suppose if I'd played my cards right, maybe I could have got lucky. I don't know, but and I don't know how the dog would have fit into all that, but.
Maybe they're trying to get you to go out to the mystery machine, Shag. With got Scoops in there. He's trying to pimp some hoe for you. Oh my God! I never heard that story before. That's awesome.
I never have either.
Really?
That's the best ever. I mean, you don't follow that up with anything. I mean, no. And the only crazy thing that ever happened to me is I had sex in the booth one night on an overnight. That was it. That's it. There was no dog. There was no joints. There was no dog smoking cigars. Look, we were fine. I cleaned up. It was just. It was only the one time. It was only one time. Stay in school, kids. Don't do drugs. Well, guys, we're at the. It's 10 o'clock here on the East Coast. Huh? No, you get nothing else. No, you get nothing else. I mean, what? Wait. That's what you get.
That means yes, Jim. That's what that means.
Oh, geez.
It was somebody you knew. It was somebody you knew, but they weren't local. Okay, let's put it that way.
From Niagara Falls.
She's from Canada.
Yeah.
It was a catfish.
You wouldn't know her, so yeah.
Oh,
we got Thurlow. Okay. Thurlow's in the chat. Says Jim is an epic storyteller. Yes, he is. That was one of the best stories I ever heard.
That's a great story.
And just so you know, Bill, this was at 106. This wasn't at KOR. I couldn't get lucky at KOR. Not for a lack of trying, but I was a little bitty, and I wasn't good with the ladies yet. I needed practice. So anyway, usually this is the part of the show where I say, hey, if you got anything to promote, or you want to tell people where they can find you, that sort of thing. Jim, I know you don't want anybody to find you. I know you're in the cave. I'm good. No, Bill, I wasn't by myself. Bill. Anyway, be an asshole. But do you guys, what's going on at CBI at the TV station? What's coming up for you guys?
What's not coming up? I'm telling you, we're busier than we've ever been.
You got the bride
with less staff.
What about what the bridal show? Is that coming up?
We already had it. We're doing job fairs, health fairs. We're doing bridal show. We're doing a lot of half hours. My reporters do a online show that is now a podcast called WCBI After Hours. It's like this, except they talk about dumb stuff for 15 or 20 minutes, just fun stuff. And they just
so it is like this.
Yeah, but it's on our website, WCBI.com, but it's the young people's perspective of stuff. And they have a great time doing that show. And they do one every 2 weeks, and they've turned it into a podcast. So that's awesome. That's a really fun thing for them. It's not for guys our age. They would say, yeah, this is not for you. And so that's kind of a fun thing for them to do. We try to give them outlets, especially reporters, of fun stuff that they can do. And other than that, I'm trying to figure out how to make $1.
No, I hear you. I'm gonna put the TV station website in the chat here, everybody.
No, we do good work.
So Bill says, do they talk about escorts and sex in the control room, Derek? Thurlow, you a pervert, man. Why are you asking shit like that for? Come on, man. You're supposed to be a man of Jesus. What the hell are you talking about, like escorts and sex in the control room? You'll be ashamed of your damn self.
None of that.
None of that? Okay. Now, well, before we get Jim, you do commercial production, right? Do you have a crew? Are you the guy, or how does that work?
It's a 2-man crew.
Nice. Is TJ still there?
No.
Oh, wow.
He retired.
He finally retired. TJ used to be, what was his title there? He was the camera guy.
He started out as art director.
Yeah.
And so he would do the slides and stuff, and the stills and the graphics before there were computers. And TJ worked there for 40 years.
Wow. 40 years. Easy.
And he retired 3 years ago. Almost 3, Jim?
19, yeah.
Mm-hmm. At the end of 19. And Jim took over for him.
Oh, okay.
And
Have you got the stutter down yet? I mean, do you that's kind of a requirement for that gig, Jim. So, I mean, if you have it, you've had 3 years, Jim. Come on, man. You had pandemic downtime. I'm sure you could have done it then.
No, I don't think I've really mastered that. I'm afraid. Sorry.
Well,
see, Jim's pipes are still too good. See.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe if once you're there 40 years, you'll have it by then. So, in tribute
Getting
to
close.
TJ. So, yeah, you've been there a good while too. How long you been there at CBI?
Almost 26.
Oh, wow. I was there for like 12 years off and on. I'm a triple threat. I've been there 3 times.
You're the other 3-timer. We've got 2 3-timers that are there.
Right.
Joey Barnes, news director, and Eric Lampkin. Eric just came back for his 3rd tour.
Oh, Eric, yeah.
So,
oh, man.
A couple 3-timers. And yes, you are a 3-timer. And that's a rare club. So seriously, that's cool.
Yeah, it's been almost 20 years since I worked there. That was 2003. That's when
what's funny is I took a call from a viewer the other day, and he told me who he was. And I knew who he was, or at least I knew who his dad was because he worked the station. And he said, well, he's a member of that FBI club. You don't know anything about that, do you? And I went, fired by Imes? Oh, yeah. A lot of us old timers know about the FBI club.
Yeah,
and
you're going to have to leave now.
Laughing. He went, yeah, man, that's great. I worked out that old building too. So, and I went, yeah. I said, yeah, I worked out there for a while.
For those not in the know, the TV station in Columbus, it's in town now, but originally it was out in the county, literally in the middle of a cow pasture in trailers, right? Double wide trailers. Yeah. True story.
People don't believe it. I got a picture of it in my office, and I'll show it to people, especially when I interview them. If they interview with us, I'll say, this is where we came from.
I'll back you up on that too. I'll back you up on that. I never forget, like, when you said, "Hey, you know, you got me that job out there," and I drove out there, and I was like, "What the hell is this place? This is the TV." And I saw cows out there eating grass and taking poops, and I was like, "Where?"
And if you didn't see that tower or maybe that satellite truck out there, you would not think you were at a TV station.
I thought you were screwing around with me.
Exactly.
I was like,
hey, snipe hunt.
Yeah, man. I was like, this asshole's got me out in the middle of nowhere. Ain't no TV. Oh, there's the tower. Okay, there's the truck.
Yeah,
all right.
Right.
I walked in there sheepishly. I was peeking around corners like, you sure this ain't some sort of trap?
Yeah.
I didn't think I pissed you off or anything, so, you know, I don't see why you would have done that, but.
You know what's funny, though? We have been in that TV station since 93, and if I'm talking to somebody who worked at the old building, I still call it the new building.
Yeah.
I still do that. After all this time, I'll go, yeah, we're up at the new building, or, yeah, downtown. And we moved there in 93, for crying out loud. The new building. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man, I miss that place. I miss the people there, too. I miss you guys, too. You know. Brother. I'll come down there and see you sometime.
Wish you would.
I'll do that, and you know, I'll bring you some good Yankee rolls, because we ain't got no biscuits up here. No biscuits. Although you want to hear something really sad, is the best sweet tea in all of New York City that's most resembles Southern sweet tea is at McDonald's. That is sad, but it's $1. It's $1, one whole dollar for some tea and tax. But I'll drink it and I'll go, oh, liquid diabetes, so good. Reminds me of home when you take sugar and then you put some tea bags in it and you put a few drops of water in it and then you cook it up. Yeah.
Yeah. Just made a fresh batch last night.
Oh, I've been doing the cold brew. I do a little cold brew. I took an old Gatorade bottle. Yeah. I put some tea bags in there and just leave it overnight. It's okay.
Yeah,
I don't drink coffee.
I'm off Dr. Pepper now.
Oh, really?
And I am hooked on the coffee. Well, I did it to try to lose this stupid weight. And I knew I needed to get off it, and so I did. Now I'm hooked on the cold brew, and I haven't lost 1 pound because I dump it with cream.
For that, you get this.
Damn!
You son of a bitch! You son of a bitch! I thought you and Dr. Pepper were forever. You put DR and DP forever on that tree. Asshole.
Oh, don't get me wrong. If I could go back to it, I would. But now I can't even come close to drinking it now. It's crazy.
I don't drink sodas
Wasn't
either.
That from the episode where James died?
Yes.
I equate James dying to Dr. Pepper dying in his life. Okay. I think there's equal drama there. And speaking of John Amos,
you're not such an asshole after all.
No, you were right. I'm just your kind of asshole.
I told you I had toys. Shut up out there, danger. I told you we got some criminals around here. Gentlemen, I appreciate y'all. Derek Rogers, Jim Scott, two of my best friends. Good Southern gentlemen. And I appreciate you. We're gonna do this again sometime. You know what? Maybe we'll do this again for at the end of the year, because at the end of the year it'd be 30 years, right? For Mix 106. Is that right?
Technically, I started in June of 92, so for me it's 30 coming up here in the next few weeks. But
okay, because I saw on the 20th anniversary it said something It was December 30th, like 91 or something. Well, okay, that's like 31 years. Screw it. I don't know what I'm talking.
That'd have been the original version, not the classic rock Jim Scott version.
You know what we'll do? We'll get you guys back on again, and we'll talk about hookers in the control booth and how Derek has disappointed everybody by giving up Dr. Pepper, and how he should be
down 28 points after I did.
You should be shunned, and I would back that 100%. Stay right there.
Talk about the Doobie Brothers on What's Happening next time.
Yes. What's Happening is extraordinarily underrated.
We have to discuss the Doobie Brothers and their battle against record piracy on What's Happening. I think this is important.
Mama, I can't breathe. Oh, Raj. Them titties gonna kill you one day. Them titties gonna kill you one day, Raj. Hang on. Stop it. I'm trying to close this fucking show out. Hang on a second. I'll say goodbye to you guys properly. I just gotta do a couple of shout outs here. So hang tight. Hopefully this doesn't do anything. Okay. So we got Ed, thank you so much for coming out. Bill Thurlow, Gamer. I know we have a whole bunch of folks in the chat here. Dwayne White, Bill again there. Thanks a lot. Betty Joe, appreciate you. Kelly, love you. My future ex-wife. Who else we got here? We had a few people watching tonight. It's pretty good. Kevin Birchfield, love you, brother. Let's see. You're so small. Tanya, love you. I think that's everybody. If I missed anybody, I'm sorry. So tomorrow I will be on KRTD at 1 p.m. Eastern with the lovely and talented Jimmy Sunderland. We will be doing the news, and we will also have an interview, I believe. And then tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to be on Reef Breland Show, Reefer After Dark, with Kit Cabello, and I think Jesse Jett is going to be on there too. So, woo! Always good to get with old friends, talk about the old days, and I think it was a great topic tonight, talking about radio, and I really enjoyed it. Now I got to go wipe the tears of joy out of my eyes. Everybody, thanks a lot. Have a great night. Love everybody, and as always, wash your ass. Nobody likes a dirty ass. Good night, folks.